My name is Calista, and the night my voice finally woke up, he told me to bury it. Stay quiet and do not make a scene, Derek hissed in my ear, his fingers pressing just a little too hard into my arm. We were at his firm's anniversary gala, in a hotel ballroom that smelled like money and polished wood. Waiters moved with silver trays. A jazz trio played something soft and forgettable. Everyone laughed at Derek's stories, the way they always did. I stood beside him in a blue dress he had chosen, smiling when I was supposed to, nodding when a partner's wife spoke to me about vacations I could not afford without Derek's approval. Then I heard my name. "Is that your charity case?" one of the senior partners asked, chuckling, his eyes sliding toward me. Derek laughed. "Calista? She is sweet. She just needs direction. Without me she would be lost. I keep her from making dramatic mistakes." They laughed together. I felt my face heat, but it was not just humiliation. It was recognition. I had heard pieces of that thought before in smaller doses. You overreact. You do not understand business. You would embarrass yourself without me. The partner smirked. You better keep her calm if this thing with the lake house gets messy. Last thing you need is her making a scene while we finalize everything. The lake house. I turned my head slowly. Derek's jaw tensed. For a second he forgot to smile. "It is handled," he said. "She has no idea what is going on with the deed." I stepped closer. "No idea about what?" I asked. The partner's eyebrows lifted. Derek's smile snapped back into place. "Nothing for you to worry about," he said through his teeth. "Go get some air, Cal. You look pale." "I heard my name," I replied. "I would like to know what you are handling." His fingers dug into my arm. From across the room it probably looked affectionate. "Stay quiet and do not make a scene," he whispered. "We will talk at home." My pulse thundered in my ears. The music swelled. A waiter brushed past with glasses that clinked together. The old Calista would have swallowed the questions. Smiled. Waited. Told herself he knew better. This time I lifted his hand off my arm, one finger at a time. "I am not a scene," I said softly. "I am your wife." His eyes hardened. "Then act like it." I walked away, not toward the balcony like he expected, but toward the restroom where the noise dulled and the mirror waited. My reflection stared back at me. A woman who had made herself smaller for years so he could shine. I heard his words again. "She has no idea what is going on with the deed." I took my phone out of my purse. My hand shook, but not from fear. From decision. If he wanted me to stay quiet tonight, fine. But I would not stay blind. And the scene he was so afraid of would not happen in a ballroom. It would happen in a place where his voice did not control the room. Derek drove home in silence. His hand gripped the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles blanched. Streetlights slid across his face, turning his expression into brief frames of anger and calculation. "Do you have any idea how childish that was?" he finally asked. "I asked what you were doing with the deed," I said. "That is not childish. That is marriage." He snorted. "This is exactly what I meant. You turn everything into drama. There is a reason I told you to stay quiet and not make a scene." "You mean there is something you do not want anyone to hear?" I answered. He did not reply. When we reached the house, he tossed his keys into the bowl by the door and loosened his tie with the same hand that had dug into my arm. "I am tired," he said. "We will talk tomorrow when you are calmer." "I am calm," I replied. My voice surprised even me. It was steady. "And we will talk now." He turned, eyebrows raised. "About what?" "The deed," I said. "The lake house. The part where I supposedly have no idea what is going on." He rolled his eyes. "It is a simple transfer. Tax reasons. You would not understand the details, Cal. That is why I handle it." "I want to see the paperwork," I said. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No. You will just panic over something you misread. Trust me. I am keeping us protected." Something inside me settled into place, heavy and clear. "I did trust you," I said. "Now I am checking." I left him in the hallway and walked straight to the small built-in cabinet in the study. That was where we kept important papers. Or where we used to. Birth certificates. Old leases. The original deed to the lake house my grandmother had left me. At least that was what should have been there. I opened the cabinet. The folders were thinner. The labeled binder with Lake House documents in my handwriting was gone. Derek, I called. Where is the binder for the Lake House? He appeared in the doorway, face composed. I took it to the office, he said. We needed to scan everything for the title company. My chest tightened, but my thoughts stayed sharp. When? A few weeks ago, he replied. You were visiting your aunt. I told you, remember? He had not. I searched the rest of the cabinet. Our joint tax returns were there, but last year's file was missing. The folder with insurance policies was thinner. Several envelopes that had once bulged with statements felt nearly flat. I turned back to him. What else did you take? You are being ridiculous, he said. Go to bed. I have an early call. I looked at him, at the man who had once promised to protect me, now standing between me and my own history. No, I said quietly. I have an early call. His eyes narrowed. With who? I will let you wonder, I answered. His jaw clenched. Calista, do not start something you cannot finish. He said it like a threat. I heard it like a dare. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my notebook. At the top of a blank page I wrote, in neat letters, Lake House, deed, missing files. Then I added another line. If he moved my inheritance without telling me, the first scene will not be in front of his partners. It will be in front of a judge. The next morning, Derek left before sunrise, as if escape could outrun suspicion. He kissed the top of my head in a quick practice gesture. Be good today, he said. Call your sister. Go to yoga. Do something relaxing. He wanted me soft, distracted, circular. I waited until his car disappeared down the street. Only then did I pour coffee and open my laptop. I began with the bank accounts. Our joint checking looked normal at first glance. Groceries, gas, utilities. But the savings we had built together for 10 years told a different story. The balance was far lower than I remembered. Transfers labeled investment adjustment and property tax prep had sliced it down over the past 12 months. I clicked one of the transfers. It led to an account name I did not recognize. Halden Property Trust. We did not own anything in that name. Least I did not. I wrote it down in my notebook and took screenshots of every page. Each transaction, each date. I sent them to an email account I had created years ago and never used. A place he did not know existed. Then I opened the mortgage portal for the Lake House. The login screen greeted me with a polite line that made my stomach twist. Your access has been updated. For assistance, contact your administrator. Administrator. Administrator of a house my grandmother had left solely to me. I called the number on the screen. A hold melody played in my ear, tinny and too cheerful. Finally a woman answered. Title Services, this is Maria. Hello, I said. My name is Calista Ames. I am calling about the property on Larkspur Lake. There seems to be an issue with my online access. She asked for the address, then paused. Keys clacked faintly through the line. I see the file, she said. What seems to be the issue? I cannot log in, I replied. It says my access has changed. Another pause. Longer this time. According to our records, she said slowly, ownership was transferred to Halden Property Trust 6 weeks ago. You are listed as a prior owner. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the counter. That is not possible, I said. I did not sign anything. I have a deed on file, she answered gently, with signatures from both you and your husband, Derek Ames. I closed my eyes. Could you tell me the date on that document? She read it out. The same week Derek had sent me to visit my aunt in another state, insisting I needed a break. My voice dropped. Would you be able to email me a copy? I am not allowed to email to an address that is not in our system, she said. But if your attorney reaches out, we can send everything directly. Attorney. Derek had an attorney. I did not. Yet. Thank you, I said. You have been very helpful. I hung up. The silence in the kitchen felt different now. Not empty. Charged. He had not just moved papers around. He had moved my name off my grandmother's house. I opened my notebook and wrote down every word from the call. Dates. Company names. The phrase prior owner circled 3 times. My hands were still shaking when I dialed another number. My Aunt Julia answered on the third ring. Calista? Is everything all right? No, I said. But it can be. She heard something in my voice and did not waste time. Tell me, she said. I told her. About the gala. About the missing binder. About Halden Property Trust and the call with the title office. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. You need a lawyer, she said. Not a conversation. Not a promise. A lawyer. I do not know where to start, I admitted. I do, she replied. Come over now. Bring everything you have. I looked at the clock. Derek would not be home for hours. He believed I would spend the day calming down. Instead, I slid my notebook and laptop into a bag, picked up my car keys and walked out the door. If he wanted me to stay quiet, he should not have signed my name without asking, because silence was about to become my sharpest tool. Aunt Julia's dining table had seen every kind of family story. Birthday cakes, report cards, hospital bills. Today it held bank screenshots and the printed notes from the title office. She put on coffee, then sat down and scanned every page with the same steady focus she had once used in her years as a court clerk. This is not clumsy, she said finally. It is calculated. She tapped the line with Halden Property Trust. This looks like a holding entity, likely something his firm uses, or something he set up with their help. I never agreed to any of it, I said. I believe you, she answered. But believing you is not enough. We need someone who can make a judge believe the paper, not just the person. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts. Do you remember Thomas Blake? She asked. He did probate work when your grandmother's estate went through. He has shifted more into family and financial law now. He is not easily intimidated. I remembered a tall man with calm eyes and a dry, precise way of speaking. Yes, I said. She dialed. I listened to the low murmur as she explained just enough, not everything. I heard his voice come through the speaker, firm and interested. He had an opening that afternoon. Bring copies of everything, he said. And bring the calmest version of yourself. The documents will carry the anger. You just carry the truth. Julia squeezed my hand when she hung up. This is the part where you do not let fear make you small, she said. You let it make you thorough. At Blake & Associates, the waiting room was quiet. No television. No glossy magazines with headlines about celebrity divorces. Just a plant by the window and a bowl of mints. Thomas Blake stepped out from his office right on time. He looked older than I remembered, with more silver at his temples, but his eyes were exactly the same. Calista, he said. Come in. His office walls were lined with tidy shelves, not degrees meant to impress. Tell me, he said. I told him everything, from the gala to the phone call with the title office. I laid out the screenshots, my notes, the names of the entities. He read each page slowly, occasionally asking a short, pointed question. Did you ever sign any document related to Halden Property Trust? No. Did you grant Derek power of attorney for your property? No. Have you ever seen a deed transfer for the lake house? No. He nodded once, each no a brick in some invisible structure he was building. This is serious, he said at last. And it is actionable. My shoulders sagged with a mix of fear and relief. So I am not overreacting, I said. He looked at me sharply. That phrase needs to leave your vocabulary, he said. You are reacting appropriately to theft. The word landed between us like something solid. The first step, he continued, is to obtain certified copies of every document connected to the lake house. Deeds, transfer paperwork, any power of attorney that may have been fabricated. We will request them directly as your counsel. He tapped the Halden property name. Second, we will find out exactly what this entity is and who stands behind it. If Derek used his position at the firm to move your property into a trust without consent, that is not only grounds in family court. It may also be of interest to regulators. My heart thudded. Will he go to jail? Slow down, Blake said. This is not about punishment. Not yet. It is about protection. We will build a clean chronological picture. When a judge sees what has been done, the law will do what it does. He handed me a pen and a short form. This authorizes me to act on your behalf, he said. I want you to sign it slowly. This will also serve as a control sample next to whatever signature appears on that fake deed. My hand shook once, then steadied. I wrote my name. Good, he said. Now listen carefully. I sat up straighter. From this moment, you do not confront Derek with accusations, he said. You do not tell him what you know. You do not tell him my name. If you must speak about anything, you ask simple questions and let him dig his own hole. Men who take things in the dark are very offended when you shine light without warning. Their anger makes them reckless. So I stay quiet, I said. You stay precise, he corrected. There is a difference. As I left his office, my phone buzzed. A message from Derek. Firm dinner tonight. 8. Be ready. And please no more moods. I stared at the words. Stay quiet. No more moods. He still believed my silence belonged to him. He had no idea I had just shared it with someone who knew how to turn it into evidence. That evening, Derek talked at dinner. About a new client. About a partner who had fumbled a presentation. About the gala. You embarrassed me, he said between bites. You made everyone uncomfortable. I told you not to make a scene. I did not raise my voice, I said. I asked a question. He waved his fork. You question me in front of partners. That is the same thing. I watched him, not as a wife desperate for reassurance, but as someone collecting data. His phrases. His tells. You seem nervous, I observed. His eyes flashed. I am annoyed, he said. There is a difference. Anything going on at the firm? I asked. You mentioned the lake house there. He froze for half a second, almost too quick to see. The firm handles plenty of properties, he replied. Stop trying to read into things you do not understand. Before, that line would have shut me down. Now it did something else. It highlighted his fear. The next days fell into a strange rhythm. On the surface, nothing changed. I cooked, worked part-time at the studio, answered small talk. Underneath, everything shifted. Blake's office sent requests to the title company and the banks. A trickle of documents began to arrive. Each one added weight to the file he kept with my name on it. He called me on a Wednesday afternoon. I have the deed, he said. You did not sign it. The signature is a traced version of an old form from your grandmother's probate file. The notarization is false. I have already contacted the notary's office. There is no record of that appointment. My breath left my body in one long exhale. What does that mean? I asked. It means Derek and at least one other person have committed fraud, he said. The court will not look kindly on that, especially when it involves inherited property. He let that sink in, then continued. I have filed an emergency motion to void the transfer and restore you as the legal owner until the dispute is resolved, he said. There will be a preliminary hearing in about 2 weeks. Will Derek be there? I asked. Yes, Blake said. He will be served notice. His first instinct will be to call you and demand that you withdraw the filing. He will say you are overreacting. He will say you are ruining his career. He may even cry. Do not agree to anything on the phone. If he wants to negotiate, he can do it through counsel. That night, Derek came home later than usual. The kitchen clock ticked loud in the quiet. He tossed a thick envelope onto the table. What is this? He demanded. Why is there a petition with your name on it accusing me of fraud? I looked at the envelope with my name, his name, and the name of the court printed at the top. You are the one who told me not to make a scene, I said. So I filed paperwork instead. His face darkened. You went to a lawyer behind my back? I went to a lawyer to get my house back, I replied. You are going to destroy everything, he said. The firm. My reputation. Do you have any idea what an accusation like this looks like? Yes, I said quietly. It looks like what you did. He slammed his hand on the table. The salt shaker jumped. This is insane, he snapped. You will withdraw it. Tomorrow. Call whoever you hired and tell them it was a mistake. No, I said. His mouth opened then closed. He was not used to hearing that word from me in that tone. You do not understand what you are starting, he said. I understand exactly what you started 6 weeks ago when you signed my name on a deed I never saw. I replied. He stared at me, breathing hard. Stay quiet, he said finally. We will handle this within the family. You do not want this in court. You will look hysterical. For a moment, a flicker of the old fear rose in me. The fear of being dismissed, misread, humiliated. Then I heard Blake's voice in my mind. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to protect what is yours. I met Derek's eyes. Then thank goodness it will not just be my word, I said. There will be documents. And a judge. His expression shifted. For the first time I saw it clearly. Not irritation. Not disappointment. Fear. He walked out of the room without another word. The door to his office slammed shut. In the silence that followed, the fear in my chest did not grow. It shrank. The hearing date, circled in red in my notebook, did not feel like a threat anymore. It felt like an appointment with gravity. The 2 weeks before the hearing stretched and snapped like a tight wire. On the outside, Derek tried to pretend nothing had changed. He still left for the firm each morning in his pressed shirts. He still made comments about my cooking, the neighbor's dog, the news. But small things betrayed him. The way he checked his phone every few minutes. The way his jaw clenched when an unknown number called. The new file box he kept in his office, which he locked now whenever he left the room. Blake called me regularly. Each time his tone was measured, his words arranged like bricks. The judge has reviewed the basic complaint, he said one afternoon. She has seen enough to warrant a closer look. That is a good sign. Will I have to speak? I asked. Briefly, he answered. We will present the bulk of the evidence. The main thing is that you appear calm and consistent. Derek will likely try to provoke you in the hallway or before the hearing. He wants you agitated. Do not give him that advantage. So I practiced. At night, when Derek was in his office, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and said the facts out loud in simple sentences. My grandmother left the lake house to me alone. I never signed a deed transferring it to any trust. The signature on the file transfer is not mine. I discovered this after my access to the account was removed. Each line became a stone I could step on without slipping. One evening, as I set the table, Derek watched me. You are really going to go through with this? He said. Yes, I answered. He shook his head slowly. You are going to look like a fool. Judges hate emotional wives. I am not arriving as an emotional wife, I said. I am arriving as the legal owner of a house that was taken without consent. He laughed, but the sound scraped. You memorized that line from your lawyer, did you? I understood it, I replied. That is enough. He stared at me for a long moment. If you hurt my career, he said quietly, I will make sure you regret it. I will tell everyone you are unstable. I will say you forged your own signature and blamed me. People will believe me before they ever believe you. My signature is on file from other documents, I said. The court can compare. He flinched at the word court as if it burned. The night before the hearing, I stayed at Aunt Julia's house. Derek did not protest. He muttered something about needing space. Julia made tea and sat across from me at the kitchen table. How do you feel? She asked. Like I am walking into the deep end, I said. But for once I know how to swim. She smiled, eyes glistening. That is the right kind of fear, she said. Before I went to bed, I opened my notebook one more time. On the page with the red circle around the hearing date, I added a sentence. Tomorrow he will tell me again to stay quiet. Tomorrow I will let the documents speak instead. The courthouse smelled like paper and stone and something faintly metallic like nerves. Blake met me at the entrance, his briefcase in hand. Remember, he said, this is not theater. You are not performing for anyone. You are simply stating what happened. We walked down a long hallway lined with wooden benches. People waited in small clusters, each caught in their own crisis. Outside our assigned courtroom, Derek stood with a man in a dark suit. His attorney. Derek's face softened into something that might have looked like concern to someone who did not know him. Cal, he said, stepping toward me. We can talk about this before it gets ugly. You do not have to go through with it. He leaned in, lowering his voice. Stay quiet, he whispered. Let me handle this. Do not make a scene. For a moment the old instinct tugged at me. the part of me that wanted peace at any cost. Then I felt Julia's hand on my shoulder. I saw Blake in my peripheral vision, steady as a pillar. I remembered the forged signature on the fake deed. "I am not making a scene," I said. "I am attending a hearing." His eyes flashed. "You are making a mistake." His attorney touched his arm. "We should go in," he said. Inside, the judge's bench rose above the two tables. One for us, one for them. We sat. I folded my hands in my lap. My heart pounded, but not wildly. It had a rhythm. The judge entered. Everyone stood, then sat. Derek's attorney began, voice smooth. "Your Honor," he said, "this is a simple misunderstanding between spouses. My client, Mr. Ames, has always handled the family's financial matters. The transfer of the lake property into a trust was done for tax efficiency and long-term planning. Mrs. Ames suffers from anxiety around money and has misinterpreted his efforts on behalf of the household." There it was. The narrative. Nervous wife. Noble husband. Blake stood when it was our turn. "Your Honor," he said evenly, "this case is not about anxiety. It is about consent and forgery." He handed a folder to the clerk, who passed it to the judge. "These are the original probate documents from Mrs. Ames's grandmother, including the will that names her the sole heir to the lake property," he said. "This is the deed that recorded that transfer. And this is the more recent deed that moved the house into Halden Property Trust." He waited while the judge examined the pages. "You will notice," he continued, "that the signature on the second deed is an exact tracing of the first, down to a small ink blot in the curve of the letter C. A forensic examiner has confirmed that it is a copied image, not a fresh signature." The judge's eyebrows lifted slightly. Blake went on. "You will also see that the notarization on the second deed lists an appointment date and stamp that the notary's office has no record of. In addition, we have call logs from the title company showing that Mrs. Ames was locked out of her online access shortly after the transfer, and bank records showing that funds connected to the property began to flow into an account controlled solely by Mr. Ames." He placed another sheet on the table. "Finally, we have an internal email from Halden Property Trust referring to the lake house as secured for Derek Spouse Unaware, which was produced in response to a subpoena." The room seemed to shrink around Derek. His shoulders hunched. His attorney's jaw tightened. The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Ames," she said, "did you sign the second deed?" "No, Your Honor," I said. My voice was quiet but clear. "I never saw it until my attorney obtained a copy. I did not authorize any transfer of my grandmother's house. Did you give your husband permission to handle this property without your involvement?" "No," I said. "He told me it was mine. He told me he would protect it." The judge looked at Derek. "Mr. Ames," she said, "how do you explain the forged signature and false notarization?" He swallowed. "There must have been an error," he said. "I trusted our office to prepare everything. I did not inspect every detail. I assumed my wife would agree. I was trying to protect the asset. She overreacted." There it was again. Overreacted. Blake did not raise his voice. He simply placed one more transcript on the table. "Your Honor, we anticipated that explanation," he said. "This is a transcript of a conversation that took place at Mr. Ames's firm gala, recorded by another guest. In it, he states that his wife has no idea what is going on with the deed, and that she will not have anything to say about it once the trust is finalized." The judge read the line slowly. The silence in the room thickened. Derek's face drained. "This is taken out of context," he said. "It was a joke." The judge's voice was cool. "I do not find fraud amusing, Mr. Ames," she said. In that moment, sitting at the petitioner's table, I realized something. This was the scene he had feared. Not shouting in a living room. Not tears in a restaurant. This. A calm judge. A stack of documents. His own words on paper. And for the first time, the laughter was not on his side. The judge leaned back, the file open in front of her like a small, complete story. "Here is what I see," she said. "A grandmother leaves a property to her granddaughter. Years later, the husband of that granddaughter arranges for the property to be placed into a trust without her knowledge. Her signature is faked. The notarization is invalid. Access is removed. When she confronts this, she is told to stay quiet and not make a scene. She closed the folder. "This is not a misunderstanding," she said. "This is misconduct." Derek's attorney stood quickly. "Your Honor, with respect, we do not yet know how the notary error occurred, and Mr. Ames has explained." The judge held up a hand. "You are free to continue your internal investigation," she said. "In the meantime, this court has to make a ruling to prevent further harm." She turned to me. "Mrs. Ames, you will be restored as the sole legal owner of the lake property pending any further challenge," she said. "The transfer to Halden Property Trust is voided for now. Mr. Ames is prohibited from attempting any further change in ownership without explicit approval from this court." My lungs filled properly for the first time in months. She turned to Derek. "Additionally," she said, "given the evidence of fraudulent documents, I am referring this matter to the appropriate authorities for review. Your firm may also wish to examine the conduct of any colleagues involved." Derek went pale. His hand grabbed the edge of the table. "You are ruining me," he said, not bothering to hide the accusation in his voice. The judge's gaze did not waver. "No," she said. "You did that when you chose deception. She is simply refusing to stay quiet about it." The gavel came down. The hearing adjourned. In the hallway, the air felt almost sharp. Voices from other courtrooms bled together into a low hum. Derek stalked toward me, his lawyer a step behind. "This is what you wanted," he said. "To humiliate me. To drag me through court. Are you happy now?" I looked at him. For years I had tilted my reactions to soften his. Now I let mine stand upright. "I wanted my name back on my house," I said. "The humiliation is something you brought with you." His lawyer cleared his throat. "We will be in touch," he muttered, pulling Derek away. As they left, I saw something I had never seen on my husband's face. Not anger. Not disdain. Fear of consequences that were not under his command. Blake joined me. "You did well," he said. "You stayed in the lane of facts." The judge noticed. "Will he lose his job?" I asked. "That is not your burden to manage," Blake replied. "You did not create this situation. You responded to it. Whatever happens now is the result of his choices, not yours." My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Saw the hearing. Good for you. Some of us have watched him bend the rules for years. It is about time someone told the truth." I did not know who sent it. An associate. A staff member. Someone who had been in the room when Derek felt untouchable. Julia squeezed my arm. "You made a scene," she whispered, her voice full of quiet pride. "The right kind. In the right place." For the first time, the word scene did not feel like an insult. Felt like a record. The next morning, sunlight fell through my kitchen window, exactly as it had the day I called the title office. The difference was not the light. It was the weight of my own name. I logged into the property portal. The screen blinked, then displayed a single clean line. Owner Calista Ames. No trust. No unfamiliar entity. Just me and the house my grandmother had chosen for me. Blake called shortly after. "The judge's written order came through," he said. "You are secure for now. The referral to the investigators has been sent. You do not have to do anything further on that front unless they contact you." "What about the rest?" I asked. "The marriage." There was a pause. "That is another decision," he said. "My office can handle it if you choose to file. But only you can decide if this is a single fracture or proof of something deeper." I looked around the kitchen. At the table where Derek had laughed about my moods. At the cabinets he had emptied of documents. "It is proof," I said. Over the next days, Derek moved between anger and desperation. He called once from the firm, his voice tight. "You could have talked to me," he said. "You could have given me a chance to fix it quietly." "I tried to talk to you at the gala," I replied. "You told me to stay quiet and not make a scene." "That is not the same thing," he snapped. "It is to me," I said, "because I have learned that silence does not protect me. Paper does." He came home one evening with shoulders slumped. "They are reviewing my cases," he said. "They have pulled my files. They want to know if I have used the firm to set up personal trusts before. People are looking at me differently." I watched him. I am sorry you are facing consequences, I said. But I did not create them. You did. He stared at me as if seeing a stranger. You are really committed to this new version of yourself, are you not? He said. No, I answered. I am committed to the version I should have been all along. He slept in the guest room that night. The distance between us felt less like a gap and more like a truth finally visible. A week later I met Blake again. I want to file for divorce, I said. I cannot build a future with someone who thinks my voice is a liability and my property is his to rearrange. He nodded, not surprised. We will attach the court's findings about the deed, he said. That will weigh heavily in the division of assets. You will not be punished for defending what was yours. The paperwork began. Different forms. Different deadlines. But I had learned how to read lines now. How to ask questions. How to breathe through the fear while I signed my own name. Some nights I lay awake in the quiet house and felt waves of sadness move through me. Not just for the marriage but for the years I had spent believing that my peace depended on my silence. Then I would open my notebook and read the first page. Lake House. Deed. Missing files. And the last page. Scene in court. Name restored. The distance between those lines was the distance between who I had been and who I was becoming. Months later, the divorce decree lay folded in a folder beside the court order that had restored my ownership. Two thin stacks of paper that represented something enormous. All assets divided. All claims resolved. All restrictions lifted. Derek moved out quietly at first, then noisily when he realized I would not change my mind. He left behind a closet full of shirts and a house full of echoes. I chose which echoes to keep. The lake house became not just a symbol, but a place of work and healing. I spent weekends there repainting walls, sanding old floors, planting flowers in the beds my grandmother had once tended. I began hosting small retreats for women who needed quiet. Not silence because they were being told to stay quiet, but silence they chose for themselves. On the mantel, I framed one page from the hearing transcript. Not his humiliating lines. Not even my own. Just the judge's sentence. This is not a misunderstanding. This is misconduct. It reminded me that some things are not overreactions. They are responses. One afternoon, as I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, my phone buzzed with a message from an unfamiliar number. You do not know me, it read. But I was the associate who recorded that conversation at the gala. I was tired of watching him talk about his wife like she was a child. Seeing you stand up in court gave me courage to leave the firm. I am starting somewhere new. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied. Thank you, I wrote, for recording the truth. I hope your new place sees your worth. Later, over dinner with Julia, she asked if I ever regretted making the fight public. Sometimes I miss the simplicity of not knowing, I said. But then I remember it was not simplicity. It was a story he told me about myself. And I lived inside it because it was easier than questioning it. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You wrote a new story, she said. Now when I hear someone say do not make a scene, I hear something different than I used to. I hear fear. Fear of attention. Fear of consequence. Fear of truth stepping into the light. If you are listening to my story now, maybe you have heard similar words. Stay quiet. Do not make a scene. You will embarrass yourself. No one will believe you. Maybe someone has rearranged your life on paper while using those phrases to keep you still. Hear this. Silence is not obedience. Silence can be strategy. You do not have to scream. You do not have to break dishes. You can gather documents. You can write dates. You can find people who know how to speak for you until your voice is ready to stand on its own. Let them think you are calm because you are weak. Let them believe that quiet means control. And then when you are ready, walk into the room they never expected you to enter. Not a living room. Not a restaurant. Not a gala. A courtroom. An office. A place where truth is measured in more than volume. Stand there with your papers and your steady breath. Make the only scene that matters. My name is Calista. He told me to stay quiet and not make a scene. The scene happened in court instead. And for the first time my voice was exactly as loud as it needed to be.